What is going on, YouTube? I actually just left the house. I'm out mailing, and I just stopped at USPS. I actually had a bunch of packages to drop off today. Today is Monday, so you know, typically the stuff that I sold on Saturday and Sunday goes out on Monday. Yeah, sometimes on the weekend I will go to the post office and throw it in the bin, but ultimately it really doesn't matter because it doesn't get scanned in until today anyways, and it doesn't get into the system or worked on or whatnot. So yeah, next up on the list is FedEx. I actually have 3 FedEx packages, but all of them are actually FedEx Smart Post, and I did make a video recently on FedEx Smart Post and why you should be taking them to FedEx, not USPS. A lot of people want to make that mistake, and yes, that is a mistake. There's no reason you should take it to USPS because the scan, the tracking is not going to work properly, and you can get dinged on your metrics for eBay because of this. So something to be on the lookout for. Go ahead and watch that video, but that is the summed up version. You know, just make sure that you're taking your mail to the right place. Even if another place will take it, that doesn't mean that is what you should do. Now, I actually, let's see here. The FedEx stuff is kind of interesting, actually. I forgot what one of the packages, but one of them is a board game, and I want to talk about that because most board games I sell do tend to go FedEx Smart Post, because a lot of times when you use that service for a board game, if you polybag the board game, which I do, I would look into it myself if you think that will work for you, but it works for me. I've yet to encounter a problem, and saves me time and saves me money. I used to spend a lot of time bubble wrapping board games and stuff like that, but now, you know, it literally just throw it in a poly bag and usually go in FedEx Smart Post. Now, when I ship it FedEx Smart Post, it typically ranges anywhere from like $6 to $9, so not bad at all, especially if you're picking up board games like me for 99 cents and flipping them typically in the $20 to $30 range. Now, do I like to sell board games higher than that? Of course I do, but you know, once you go over $30, it gets more difficult and more difficult to find these things on a regular basis. Now, I do actually sell a decent amount of board games, you know, nothing crazy, but whenever I find something that, again, I can sell in that $20 to $30 range, I'm very comfortable with that price point these days, and I'll definitely pick them up all day. Now, with that being said, if there's like a store that wants to price their board games for like $3.99 or $2.99, then I probably won't be picking them up. Now, it depends again on what board game it is. You know, some titles sell very quickly. You know, you'll have to check out actives and solds and make those determinations yourself, but I've definitely done research, and there are some board games that I pick up every single time. I don't even check to see if they're complete anymore. It's not really worth my time, especially if I'm paying like $1 for them. If it comes to be that it's not complete, I'll either sell it as incomplete or I'll just save it, and if I pick up another one, then if that one is incomplete, I have pieces to complete it. Now, that's what I do normally, unless it's like a rare game. Now, you can sell parts of board games and you can make some decent change. You definitely make more money doing that than selling a board game that is complete typically, but I'm just not comfortable doing that. It takes a lot of time, and time is money. Time is your most valuable thing, especially if you're doing everything on your own in this business. Can definitely hinder you if you are spending time on little things that sell for so little. And those board game parts, those things are not going to sell for any crazy money. The whole reason why you're making so much money is because, let's say the game has like 35 parts. Now, if you're making a couple bucks on each part after fees and shipping and whatnot, then you do the math. 35 times 3, you know, you could actually make, you know, $100 on a board game that maybe you would only be able to sold for $30 complete. But how much time does it take to actually sell all of those pieces? From my experience, from what I've seen, it takes a long time to do that. You might be looking at 2 years to sell out all those pieces. Now, it is different too if you get into doing this a lot and people come to your store and they know that you have tons of board game pieces and they can complete their set with this. But I don't know, it's not something that I'm going to build a business model. It's just not going to work for me, you know. To each their own. I'd rather find board games, and if they're not complete, like I said, then either keep them or just sell them as incomplete. Now, you can sell games as incomplete, but I'll be the first to tell you, you're not going to get anywhere near the money that it would be if it was complete. So again, you have to factor in that. Like, at that point, is it even worth the time listing? Like, let's say the board game sells for 25 to 30 bucks complete. Now, you're gonna sell it probably anywhere between $15 and $18 incomplete, and that's only if it's missing a couple of pieces, maybe, you know, 2 to 3. So I don't do that often. I usually just hang on to them because there are board games now that, again, I automatically just pick them up. I know that I can sell them within probably 3 months and make some decent coin on. So, you know, some people don't like board games, and that's fine because there's so much stuff out there to sell. It's just a lot of people don't even bother looking at board games. So again, it's one of those things that if you're looking to up your price point of all your stuff, then you're probably not going to want to get into board games, because you're not going to find board games all the time that are going to be at that $40, $50 price point. It's just not going to happen. Now, okay, maybe there's one exception to the rule. Maybe you are in an insane area and all you do is find really high quality stuff, but at that point, it's probably not even worth picking up the board games. You can be finding way better stuff, you know, electronics and vintage stuff. So you have to keep that in mind. But I'm actually gonna be picking up my great-grandfather today. Today is Monday, and if you watched any of my ride-along videos or any of my past videos, then Mondays are the #1 day that is kind of like family day. It's basically, we always have family over to eat for dinner, and you know, it's just bonding time. A lot of people these days are so disenfranchised with their family. It's quite sad. When it comes down to it, you know, you should really try to at least bond with your family. Now, if it doesn't work, you know, you might have a different situation. Maybe it's just not going to happen. But if there is a chance, I definitely recommend you trying to establish relationships with your close family. So, yeah, that's something to be said, but that's on a personal level, and you know, you have to determine that yourself. I'm gonna be passing the Elgin Riverboat pretty soon. It's actually a casino, and it's a casino on the water. Kind of interesting. It used to go out and you were stuck for basically 2 hours on the river because Illinois did not allow casinos to be on land. That's obviously changed. This thing doesn't even move anymore. So you know how laws are going to work. At first they start off all tough on casinos, and then before you know it, about as light as can be. These days in Illinois, there's actually there's starting to become slot machines everywhere you go. They're at bars, they're at restaurants, they're just all over. Now, I'm not a big slot guy at all. I don't know, slots just don't do too much for me. Every once in a while, yeah, you know, you might have a good little time, especially if you win some decent change. Now, I was in Puerto Rico this summer, about 2 months ago or so, and there was one day where I put in like 10 bucks, and pretty quickly I made $80 on this slot that was basically like craps. Now, if you don't know craps is a table game. I definitely recommend looking up what it's all about, looking up the rules, seeing if you might enjoy it. Now, this game, you can lose a lot of money quickly, so you got to be careful with it, but table games are really fun. My favorite is probably blackjack. Now, roulette, I'm not a huge fan at all. It's just a game of chance, and therefore it's not too fun. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a chance in all games, but roulette, there's nothing but chance. There's no skill. So poker, you know, there's skill. Craps, there's skill to an extent. You have to do things smart, or you won't win as much money. There's not that much skill in there either, but there is to an extent. Now, blackjack, there's a lot of skill involved. If the table is doing stupid stuff, then I'm not going to sit there and play. If they're not playing properly, then I'm going to leave. Now, there's one exception to it, and it comes few and far in between. If this table is doing stupid stuff, but everyone is still winning, including you, well, of course you're going to stay. Man, I'm seeing this guy walk in this Cubs jersey. Cubs, is this the year or what? I think they might actually be able to take it this year. You know, we'll see. It could be the once in a lifetime thing for me. I'm from Chicago, and the Cubs haven't won in 100 years, so that would be really neat. But we'll see how it plays out. You know, I think they're going to make it to the World Series, and then they have a shot. Oh, man. I'm at these train tracks now, and it sucks because there's this bus in front of me. It has to stop at all these train tracks. There's like 3 of them in a row. Well, I think I'm going to check back in a few. Well, I was just talking about the Grand Victoria, and there's that sign. I actually use that crosswalk a lot. There's actually a parking deck to the right of that, and that crosswalk allows you to not get wet when it's raining. So it comes in handy, especially in the winter, because we have harsh winters here. We get lots of snow typically. It gets pretty darn cold around here as well. So it's kind of like Minnesota, but not as bad. Just stopped at a local business, guys. Support your local businesses if possible, especially if they do a good business. But anyway, back on track to head to FedEx, and I'll be good to go. My items will get there before 6. It's only 5:10 now, so that's good. But I did want to speak a little bit upon this. Now, Amazon was slowing down, and I believe it's totally because of all the repricing that is being done right now. And with that being said, I actually am repricing myself now. I'm using Amazon's repricer, and the day after I started using it, sales started increasing dramatically. Now, I've been selling over 10 items a day. I was selling like 1 to 3 items per day, and with that, my inventory as of right now, I have about 900 items at Amazon, I did do a big purge, and I just had Amazon destroy a couple hundred books that they're just not worth it anymore. I don't want to get long-term storage fees. The fees are high enough on Amazon. Luckily, most of those books I was in very little, and you know, I've made my money back from all my buys plenty over. So yeah, it's just something that if your Amazon sales are down, you might want to consider using their repricer. Now, the one thing that I don't like about their repricer, I don't know if there is a way of doing it, but I've yet to find a way of actually eliminating price matching certain sellers. You know, sometimes you don't want to price against some of these mega sellers that are selling everything for $4. It's pretty crazy. I do understand how they do it. They're using crazy machines that scan the books to tell them whether it's worth it or not, and they're buying books by the Gaylord for little to nothing, and anything that isn't worth it they're actually selling to paper recycling places. So they do make a little bit money off of that as well. I don't know, I can't fathom why they undervalue their books so much. I realize that they're in it only because of volume, you know, they're in it just because of quantity, but man, it's hard to wrap my mind around why they're selling a book that could totally sell for $20-25 bucks for $4. It just it baffles me. I'm not quite sure the reasoning behind that. But man, downtown right now is all messed up. Seems like they're always fixing the roads, doesn't it? Doesn't matter where you go, they're just always fixing roads. Such a pain in the rear end. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with my sales on Amazon now with utilizing the repricer. And I will say there's a lot of stuff that I've set the minimum, I don't know, I've set minimum, you know, roughly like $4.50. And if it goes that low, then, you know, it goes that low. But I've just seen tons of stuff that is starting to sell that's been sitting there for a long time, and I really don't do any manually repricing. Every once in a while I did do it. I probably did it twice, but when you have so much inventory, you know, when you have 1,000+ items, it takes so much time manually repricing, because you have to look at all the offers and then you have to price it. Plus you have to take in consideration rank now because of long-term storage fees. It was just easier to set a bottom price that I would, you know, mostly make my money back on if it did sell for that bottom price. And a lot of stuff isn't selling at the bottom price. A lot of it, you know, maybe it was priced at $20-25 bucks, but maybe someone else has it priced at $17.95, maybe $16.50, and it matched that, and it's starting to sell for that price. So just because you set a bottom price, it doesn't mean that it's going to go there. Now, know that you're comfortable with whatever bottom price is, though, if it sells, because there's some stuff that I've set way higher for the floor price, which means minimum selling price. Some of this stuff, you know, maybe I'll set it at 20 bucks for the bottom price, or maybe I'll set it at 15, 10, you know, whatever. But if it's just average run-of-the-mill type stuff, then I'd rather just have it be sold and, you know, have a happy customer, maybe some feedback on it, get it out of my hands, definitely make it so that I don't have these long-term storage fees, because these things are going to hit, and they're going to hit hard. Now, I'm not going to say that, you know, I couldn't afford them, but when it comes down to it, it's just not worth it. That's how it is, you know. I want my fees to be as small as possible, especially with the fees being as high as they are on Amazon. You know, they're not like eBay fees. They're not like, you know, your 10% fees. They can get a lot higher. And some of the stuff I'm in it for, like, let's say I sent in a book that I plan on selling for $7, and I bought it for $1. Shipping to them cost 40 cents or whatever. As you can probably see, it's better if I just let it reprice, and maybe it'll sell for $5.25, whatever. I'll make some of my money back. Now, this has changed my buying habits. That is definitely taking that into consideration now. Because of long-term storage fees, I'm picking up stuff that is more money, and I'm skipping stuff that is less. Now, there is an exception to this. If the item is something with a very good rank and it's not that high of a price that sells, then so be it, because I know it's more than likely going to sell before long-term storage fees hit. And that's something you gotta take into consideration. These storage fees, they're just gonna be a nuisance. It shouldn't really hinder you too much. It's just gonna be a pain. It's just gonna be something that people are going to bitch and complain about, because it's an inconvenience. And it doesn't really help the buyer at all, because a lot of people are getting their stuff back, so then there's actually just less competition there. So that could mean that prices are actually raised a little bit, you know, so it doesn't necessarily help the customer. That's one thing Amazon has to think about too. It's just like you were in this place where it was totally capitalism. Like, anybody could set whatever prices they want. It was there. And now it's just like, it's so weird. It's this weird concept. It's hard to wrap my mind around, because Amazon has been this way for so long. But then again, it's Amazon's platform. They can do whatever they want. And I totally understand that they're allowed to do whatever they want, and they should. But I just don't think it's a good decision. I don't think it necessarily helps their buyers or their sellers. It might help them a little bit, but that's not what Amazon built its business upon. They built their business upon the customer. And I don't know, I have to wonder, is this really for the customer, or is this for you? So we're having steaks tonight, and didn't have any steak sauce at home. Had to stop at the grocery store, get the trusty old A1, and luckily I had my PayPal card, so I was able to get 90 bucks cash back. You know, like that PayPal card, if you don't have one already, definitely pick one up, because you know what, it's free to use, and whatever you use it on, you actually get 1% cash back if you use it as a credit, not using your PIN. So there's been some months where, you know, you can get some nice little cash back if you use it as credit all the time. I never use it as debit. But off to FedEx now. It's about 5:30. We're eating at 6, so I should just make it home in enough time. And I'm ready. We don't have steak often. I like steak, but they like to have chicken every day, chicken. Which chicken's not bad, you know, good protein, good lean meat, but I like some nice steak every once in a while. Oh man, the traffic is outrageous right now, I'll tell you that. How's the traffic around you? I mean, seriously, leave in the comments below. I remember probably 5-10 years ago, it was nothing like it is today. Right now, I'm in a suburb, and it's like driving in what was Chicago traffic. That's how crazy, ridiculous the traffic has got around here. Like, sometimes going from one side of town to the other takes about 40 minutes, and the distance might be about 10 miles. I mean, you do the math. You're not going very fast, are you? Oh man, I'm trying to think what is on the agenda after dinner. Now, hitting up the gym tonight. Haven't hit the gym up in 3 days. I don't go on Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays typically. Typically Monday through Thursday. I like those days. It's a little bit, sometimes it's tough not having a day off, but then having 3 is nice. And honestly, the only reason is I like going at night, and I like going later at night, and my gym closes early on Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays. On Fridays it closes at 10, on Saturdays and Sundays it closes at 8. And you're thinking, come on, that's not bad timing, right? But honestly, a lot of times I go anywhere between 8 and 9 usually. Sometimes I go at 7. I'd like to go at 7, but usually there's just too much to do. And man, it's bright outside right now. I don't know if you can tell, but the sun is hitting. Gotta put up that visor. Yeah, but I usually stay till about midnight. I try to stay till midnight. You know, sometimes I end up leaving at 11:30. But I like to get in, I try to get in 3 hours. That is pretty ideal, because this year I was not good about cycling. I didn't actually bring my bike out. I brought it out maybe twice. I really want a new bike. I have a road bike. I actually want a mountain bike now. You know, the road bike was fun, but I want a bike that I don't have to really gear up and put on, you know, shoes, everything. And by shoes, I mean clip-in shoes. You know, I have clip pedals, so you really can't use regular shoes to ride. And I believe with the mountain bike, what I'm gonna do is put in not clipless pedals, but I am going to put in those pedals that you can strap up, so you can secure your foot. It's just not as intense as every time I gotta ride I have to put on my cycling shoes, you know, because if you have to spend a lot of time putting on all your gear, then you're not going to go for a quick ride. You know, you're just not. It's just not worth the time at that point and effort. So basically, anytime I went, I would have to be going for minimum an hour, but realistically an hour and a half ride or more, because if it takes 15 minutes to put on all that gear, you know, then that's one thing. You know, that's one thing to think about too if you're looking into getting into cycling and whatnot. You know, you have to determine, am I gonna put on all this stuff and want to be in a very aggressive ride position every time if my only bike is a road bike. Now, at first I thought, yeah, of course, but then you start getting a little bit older, you start having a little bit less time, and it just didn't work out that way. So now if you can have multiple options, then that's a whole nother ball game. You know, maybe you want to go on your road bike and have a blast one day for 4 hours, then that's totally awesome. But maybe you just want to hop on your bike, have a nice little short ride, you know, for 45 minutes, an hour. Now, I probably wouldn't go on a 30-minute ride, you know. That's nothing. It's like, again, that's not worth your time either, but maybe 45 minutes is realistic. Like, you can get a really nice ride if you ride at a good cadence and whatnot. But I'm at the FedEx, so I want to get their packages to make sure that they get shipped out today. Well, I was definitely in and out. There was a few people in there, but I just go in there. He said, hey, how's it going? How's your day going? You need a receipt, and there you go. We're off to the races, right? But I'm trying to think. I might actually be doing some CD resurfacing tonight. That does sound appealing, although I should probably list clothing on eBay. Man, that sounds not like a fun time. Decisions. The only reason that I should be doing the eBay clothing is I really need to get it off the floor right now. It's on the floor, or basically on the floor. So I need to get it into totes and stuff listed. That's what I'd really benefit from that, because therefore I'd have more space. And I don't get a lot of space really. So, but resurfacing CDs actually sounds more fun. I know a lot of people will say, come on, resurfacing CDs, that sounds so boring. But you know, I don't mind it, especially when you look at this CD, you scan it, and you're like, this thing is selling for 25 bucks. I paid 99 cents. I get to send it into Amazon, and I don't have to look at it ever again. Now, that's the appealing part. The send it and forget it part. That's why a lot of people love Amazon so much. It's just so neat, you know? It's like, man, it's really fun, because basically once you finish what you need to do with the item, I mean, you're done. It doesn't matter when it sells. I mean, it does matter when it sells because of long-term storage fees now, but there's no more effort, there's no more work on your part. You know, when it comes to eBay, you could get questions about the item, especially clothing. You're gonna have to store it correctly, you're gonna have to locate it when it sells, and then you're going to have to package it correctly, and then put a sticker on it, and then ship it out. Yeah, it's not that big of a deal, but the alternative, send it and forget it, is just brilliant. Like, I love it. Now, there's a lot of people that are hating on Amazon right now, especially with all the changes, especially with all the gating going on, and I can totally understand that aspect. I'm just speaking from a predominantly media seller on Amazon. Yes, I used to do a lot more retail arbitrage last year compared to this year, just because this year I can't find much, and now it's even harder, because even if you do find stuff, there are brands that are gated. But it's not that big of a deal really, because you can sell retail arbitrage on eBay. It's just not as appealing, because you're basically paying up for the item. You're not going to be making as much as you would if you found it in another way, and you know, the profits aren't there. Now, the good thing about retail arbitrage stuff is you're getting it brand new, therefore there's little to no room for error when it comes to the buyer having issues with it. You know, not much can really go wrong with a brand new item, so you're not going to have very many problems when it comes to that, which is nice. You know, having to deal with problems with the item, and then most of the time when you're dealing with them, at that point you're like, you don't even want to deal with it anymore. You didn't have much invested in the item, so you know, you just refund the money, right? But now if you paid up for this item because it was a retail arbitrage item and you have an issue, then it's an even bigger issue, because that cuts into your profits a lot more. So that's definitely one thing you have to look out for when it comes to retail arbitrage stuff. The profit margins are less. There's less problems when it comes to the buyer, but when the problems occur, it's actually a bigger problem because it's going to cost you more money and possibly, you know, more time too. But geez, I think I'm gonna, yep, I got that light. Oh man, that was a close one. But almost home now, man. It's almost dinner time. Can't wait to see the family. They should all be there by now. Oh shoot, I'm actually getting a little bit tired. It's almost 6 o'clock and I'm getting tired. That's kind of crazy, man. Yep, actually this is funny. My grandparents are literally probably 300 feet ahead of me. I just noticed that. But with that being said, I'll see you in a few secs. Well, I just got home from the gym. Had a really good workout tonight. But with that being said, I think this is going to be the end of this ride-along video. I hope you liked it. Go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe.